I am delighted to welcome Aileen Cox Bundell to Eason today to chat to us about her new book, The Baby-Led Feeding Cookbook. Welcome, Aileen.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming in. So, firstly, for those of us who aren't familiar with the concept of baby-led feeding, could you give us a brief overview?
So baby-led feeding basically means that you place food down in front of your baby and you let them pick it up and put it into their mouth themselves.
Okay.
But baby-led feeding for me is a little bit different than I probably would have done it with my daughter maybe 15 years ago.
Okay.
This is baby-led feeding take two. So it's really healthy, delicious foods that are all very nourishing, also very easy for your baby to pick up, and that the whole family can eat as well.
Oh, super. So then what did inspire you to write this book?
So one evening I was sitting at home and a programme came on TV talking about obesity, and just in particular the rise in statistics in obesity in children just really made me kind of sit up and take note. And I had just finished feeding my little baby Oscar and he was asleep in my arms, and I remember just looking down at him and thinking, I really just want to do something for him, and I really want to make a change for him so that he is just not a part of these statistics or the rest of my children. And so I just thought, what can I do? And so I started to do some research, and then I decided, saving the entire world and all its children is quite a big thing to do. So I decided to just start with my own family. So I started clearing out my presses and just changing things that they were normally eating. So I replaced, say, ketchup with like homemade ketchup, and I replaced the breads that we were buying with some homemade bread. So as long as there was the things that they loved in the cupboards, they really didn't care if they came packaged with a sticker on a bottle or not. They were just happy. And then I started collating all my recipes together, and when Oscar became time to feed Oscar solid food, I started feeding him in a really healthy way as well. And by the time he was 12 months old, I had, as a mother, you're so interested in taking photographs of your baby eating food. I had 100 photographs and 100 recipes all scribbled down, and my mum saw it and said, you have to make this into a book. And so that's kind of how it all kind of started.
Brilliant. Yeah. So the Baby-Led Feeding Cookbook is packed full of really yummy recipes. What would you say is your absolute favourite one to make?
I think the one that my children love the most are the falafels with hummus. We eat hummus maybe every week, or the sweet potato truffles, because they're really nutritious and they're made with using sweet potatoes, so they actually have vegetables in them. So any way I can kind of get veggies into my children, the better.
Great. So what does kind of differentiate your book from other books that are already out there on the same topic?
I think looking at the healthy aspect of it. So I'm always trying to get children eating more fruit and veg. So the recommendation used to be that there was 5 fruit and veg per day, and now it's up at nearly 10. So you're to try and get your child to eat 10 portions of vegetables a day, or fruit and veg a day, which is a huge thing. And as a mother, I just really wanted to try and create recipes that would always have vegetables on the side, so they always see what vegetables look like, but they would also have vegetables in what they're eating too. So it's kind of a sneaky way and also the right way of getting them to pick up a floret of broccoli and carrots. So you're constantly encouraging them to eat better and eat healthier foods, and all of the recipes are like that. So I think that's kind of what differentiates it from other books. But it's just packed full of really yummy recipes. So
great. So finally, what is your top tip for parents who are currently themselves trying to introduce solids into their children's diet?
I would suggest not to give up, to be very patient. When you're introducing food to your baby, it can sometimes take 10, 15 tries for your baby to get a taste for something that's as nutritious as kale, for example. When I gave my baby kale for the very first time, he did not like it, or the second, or the third, or the fourth time, but slowly he'd eat a tiny little bite, and then the next time he might eat a little bit more, and the next time a little bit more, and then suddenly he was eating kale. So just be patient. And then also I don't give alternatives when it comes to food. So I will make a dish for the baby, and I will put it in front of him, and sometimes he will push it away and say, I don't like it. But I always say in a very calm way, which is very hard for mums sometimes, it's okay, we can eat it later, and then stick it in the fridge, and then that's the next thing that he eats. So he always gets that meal and make sure that he's eating that food. So it's to try and constantly encourage and just not to give alternatives, because I think once you start going down the alternative route, that's where kind of you make
a start.
Fussy eaters.
Yeah. Well, that's a wonderful tip. Aileen, thank you so much for coming in to us today. This sounds like a brilliant book, and I'm sure will be so useful to many, many parents across Ireland. You can pick up the baby-led Feeding Cookbook in your local Eason store or online on easons.com.